Majority of the world
Because
does believe in God, right? Majority of the world does believe in God. Social consensus is that God world believes in God.
oh my God, no, no, okay. So we were getting to that. That's called the hungry gazelle phenomenon, by the way, in evolutionary psychology. The concept is in this position, think of yourself as an extremely basal creature.
The government telling you, yeah, we are invading Iraq, and the people telling you we are invading Iraq is a different story. The government in this case is like the master power entity.
Social contract, but there is another side to this, which is now what if I make a social contract with somebody that he will be my slave and he agrees. Now, would you object to it? Or would you say it's a social contract, it should be respected, that's how morality works? Or would you say, no, no, it's against moral values, fundamental moral values? Atheists are, I think, the most dynamic people of the world, right, in terms of morality. They are the most dynamic, right? So they can.
Oh yeah,
They can be conservative. Yes, they are the most dynamic in terms of morality. So that's the thing I like about atheism, that they can be molded to good ideas. They are open to good ideas. I love atheists and agnosticists. I love them because I think they are the people who are keeping the religion alive. To be honest, atheists are the people who are keeping religion alive. No, no, he was laughing with me. He was laughing with me.
لا إكراه في الدين قد تبين الرشد من الغي.
Right. Well, we don't kill people because we don't want to live in a society where people kill people. Yeah, exactly.
But that's
and we're totally down with that, for the record.
that's a moral law, right? That's a subjective moral law that okay, that's built.
Objective.
It's a
I mean,
subjective.
that is not objective. That is society dealing with
Yes,
society.
social consensus.
He's saying it is subjective.
Social consensus. No,
My bad.
Yeah, it's objective to the point that we all think it's
social consensus. Yes, social consensus. But right. But social consensus also fails sometimes. Right.
Don't just dismiss social consensus as if it has no meaning. Like you can go,
It has. It has.
social consensus. Like you can be the one guy in the village who goes, well, you know, you're just everybody else on the bus and you want me jerking off on the bus, and so that's just your opinion, man. No, don't do that, man. Just don't jerk on the bus. It's gross. No one likes it. Don't stop doing that.
What about Muslims? What about Muslims and Christians?
Social consensus.
What about Muslims and Christians who give the argument about, Germany having social consensus to kill all the Jews, right, and supporting Hitler, and Americans, the Americans supporting the Iraq War? I mean, what about those things? So social consensus is not the best thing. They say that God's law should be the best.
I feel.
Advocating
No,
the
no, no.
Holocaust.
Listen. Wait, can I respond to this? Sorry, but let me respond to this. Look, the government telling you, yeah, we are invading Iraq, and the people telling you we are invading Iraq is a different story. The government in this case is like the master power entity. There are a lot of people I knew that are like that now, but people I knew who tried to help Jews, who wanted to help Jews, who were not fine with the system in place, but who couldn't do anything because they were so terrified of getting their own, heads chopped off in a metaphorical sense, or even in a physical sense almost. So the problem there was not the people. The people did not agree. There was no social consensus there. That was a ruling class consensus. Many people were brainwashed, the same way that the religions brainwashed people, but there was no consensus. So that is nonsense. The same as with Iraq War. Yeah, there were a lot of people who went into the Iraq War and were like, yeah, sure, whatever. But there were a lot of people who said, like, what the hell are we doing there? Why are we attacking people randomly? This is nonsense. And in fact, if you look at why the US attacks Iraq and other places, it's very, very rare what they give as excuse. And the reason they give these excuses is because everyone knows they're full of shit when they tell you what they really want.
So the problem with that
is
that the reasons the U.S. entered World War II were kind of the same. There were some extremely good reasons for the U.S. to enter World War II, but let's not pretend those are the reasons the U.S. entered World War II.
No, I wasn't making a specific.
I don't see why like there would be moral reasons. At the end of the day, the reason the US joined World War II is because it went into the pockets.
I think
Having World War II go over was bad for the US.
Which
Financially.
means that the businesses were running the government. Right?
let's cut off from this.
You know, isn't it funny how the US capitalism sort of kind of saved Europe from Nazis?
Okay, let's cut off from this specific.
I give you something else. I give you something else really atrocious. Mussolini, yeah, the pinnacle of ass-headedness of Italy. You know how he managed to say, yeah, I want to, invade, a Northern African country. You know how he got, sort of kind of the go-ahead, and we look the other way from the rest of the countries? It's because he said they still have slavery there. That's how he managed. Look, we are moral. No, he didn't want to be moral. He wanted to have a fucking colony. But because of the fact that they had slavery still, he was able to, wish his way out. I bet the vast majority of Italians were not really friends of that idea, but what were they supposed to do? They have no power because the government was very massively top-down control back then.
It's very weird for me as a very American person to hear that Mussolini needed a reason. Like, he was just this fascist dictator a-hole who could have done anything. Like, hey, we're going to start killing people with blue eyes because why not?
I mean, even fascists, like, a fascist dictator can't do anything.
Yeah.
He has power because
Well, yeah,
he
that's
has,
true.
like, the influence of the people
Yeah,
beneath him.
At some point, his key
Yeah.
to power would go, yeah, dude, we're not into that.
I think the
That's actually what happened at the end of the war with Hitler. The generals, the generals started to contradict him. They started like, no, we don't send our men in there. They were way too late and they acted way too slowly. But that is, at the end of the day, how the shift started.
I was trying to make a general point, and I think I should. I want to turn the discussion to that general point. I was just hearing Richard Dawkins and Cosmic Skeptic discuss this actually. That they said, what about a social consensus, building a consensus that rape is good, right? So because it gives pleasure.
Wait,
So-
stop. Wait. What just happened? Something, I heard something weird. I want to make sure I heard it right. 'Cause that
Yeah,
sounded
same.
really creepy.
That's what they were discussing. That a social consensus is built that rape is good. That's. I mean,
Social consensus is what?
that rape is good
By who?
by social consensus.
Who announced this social
Only a
consensus?
hypothetical scenario. Only a hypothetical.
I believe this is a hypothetical.
Yes.
he's proposing.
Yeah.
Islamic response. Are you talking about a video where Cosmic Skeptic? It looks like they're talking in Richard Dawkins' house, and they've
Yes.
got all the equipment set up, and they're having an interview.
Exactly.
Because I've watched that conversation. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yes, that's the one. That is the one. And
Islamic.
yes. Can you hear me?
Okay, so
So hey, I want to be super clear because what you said sounded so horrible. I just want to make sure we all really understand what you're saying, and we're not reacting to something you're not saying.
A hypothetical
For
example.
a translation problem.
It was a hypothetical example to show that what if a social consensus is built on a thing that causes harm. So now would you adhere to the harm principle or would you adhere to democracy? Which side will you take? That's the problem.
Thank you for throwing the word hypothetical in there. I think we all missed that the first time, and I'll
We
let
definitely
you respond.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay.
You said the social consensus. Which would you choose, the social consensus or democracy? But we think it's important that
No.
definitely
Social consensus. No.
social consensus.
Social consensus or the harm principle.
Social consensus?
Social consensus is democracy. I was trying to suggest social consensus or harm principle. Which will you opt? Which one of in the rape example I gave? Which will you opt?
So, I think social consensus and democracy are not totally interchangeable. Because, like, let's say 49% of the population was really, really, really against rape, and 51% was kind of in favor of rape. I would still say that in general, people are opposed to rape when you like factor in the weights of the value people put on either being for or against rape, even if it doesn't end up being democratically so.
Of course they are, but I was just giving a hypothetical example. What if a social consensus or democratic, whatever you want to call it, is built that rape is good and everybody should practice it? Will you choose for the harm principle that no, we will not choose democracy anymore?
Rape, please.
Well, hold on. So let's say everyone
Illegal sexual intercourse.
If everyone in a society thought rape was good, then rape wouldn't cause harm because not even rape victims would think it was a bad thing. So like this hypothetical is on tenuous footing.
Yeah,
I
the
think.
big problem is like think for example about this idea that when you are married, if your spouse wants to have sex with you whether you want to or not, that's allowed. Then that would be allowed, right? And you would consider that if that's social consensus, you would consider that well I don't like it but it is allowed, so what am I supposed to think? And then if you take another society where they say no, this is not okay, and so now you have a dilemma because one society says yes, it is okay, the other one says no, it's not okay. At the end of the day, that is neither here nor there because the way the groups are, the way the groups think, will always have an impact on how a particular place is led.
But you as a
confused because like if the societal sense that rape is good.
Objectively speaking,
removing that R word from the conversation because it doesn't matter what the thing we're talking about is. We're talking about why we make rules. We could say, forget about should somebody be allowed to do that terrible thing. Should someone be allowed to wear blue shoes in the month of October? Now we have some faction that says no, that's morally wrong because our book says so. Somebody else who says, yeah, we think your book is stupid and we should get to.
I think the book.
Yeah. No, it's the eat ice cream on Sunday. Should we make it law that people are or are not allowed to eat ice cream on Sunday?
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Exactly. No. Yeah.
No, I was just suggesting.
So no. The thing that I'm not okay. So ice cream on Sunday, Islamic response. How do you establish in your idea of a social whatever that you should or should not eat ice cream on Sunday? How does this get established?
I think this can be based upon social consensus. I'm not anti-social consensus. I already told you that. I was just saying that there are also other things that you can choose, like analogical reasoning, the harm principles, all those kind of things. And if a social consensus sometimes, as I gave the Hitler example, is built on causing harm to the society, that social consensus should be rejected. So democracy is not always the best thing everywhere. I mean, academic people who have analogical reasoning, who understand the harm principle, would tell you that rape is wrong, killing is wrong, whatever the social consensus may be against that, right? If a social consensus is for killing, we should rely on the academic voices rather than a democratic voice. That's what I'm trying to suggest only.
Killing infidels morally wrong?
Hang on.
Yes.
Before we go to that,
Generally speaking, yes.
Islamic response. Where do you think social consensus has come from? How do you think we get those?
By hearing from all the people on something, whether they choose yes or no on something, on any question.
Where
You are being
does
asked
social consensus
what
come from?
Yeah.
By the consensus of the majority, by the majority. That's exactly what social consensus means. A majority that adheres to an idea.
But how do we wind up in a situation where the majority of humans on Earth say to themselves, "Gosh, this unjust killing of other people should be illegal. Let's make a law to make that illegal." How do we get there? How do you think we get there?
Yeah, how do you get to a place where all the people believe something or not believe something.
I think that probably can never be achieved. That's why there's the concept of eternal justice in religion, which is a very strong concept. It's because of this very nature of this world that there cannot be a 100%.
No. That is not the question. The question is, how do you end up with a particular thing being accepted by the vast majority?
You cannot. Simple answer is you can never, because
you can, because it happens all
No,
over. But
no, you cannot.
if you have laws in place that say thou shalt not kill, that is because there is a vast social consensus. Otherwise, that law would not be in the book.
Yes, but
Most people do not feel the need to kill each other, period, throughout all of their modern lives. We do have a consensus, one of which is that killing isn't good. We have a society.
How did we get to this consensus?
I was giving a hypothetical example that what if social consensus agrees on something that is bad for the society? What now? So democracy fails in this regard. The harm principle wins. The harm principle is also proposed by many academics like John Locke and John Stuart Mill. So objectively speaking, which route will you take? Objectively speaking, democracy or the harm principle?
Answer our question.
That is not the answer. No.
That's not the answer.
That is not answering the question.
I am answering.
How does a global society come to the consensus that killing each other is not good?
I think the society can never agree 100% with each other. That's what I believe. That's why there is the concept of eternal.
Already agreed.
Yes, society
Around the whole globe has already agreed that killing each other is wrong. How did that come to be?
I think that's again lies upon social consensus. I was not against social consensus. I was saying that.
Yeah, but how did this social consensus happen?
Yes, how did that happen? How did the social consensus come to be? We've established there is already a social consensus. How did it come to be?
Because generally speaking, people already inherit natural morality inside them. They already inherit to some natural morality, but however, that morality can be corrupted later on, as we see with murderers and killers and rapists. I mean, rapists would.
To do with religion, it's what you're saying. It has nothing to do with religion. It's just a natural thing that's already inside of you.
Is that the answer?
It's no. It's both. It's both the things. It's both the things. If God suggests, if God.
Really quickly, I'm sorry to interrupt. Really quickly.
I mean, if
it can get triggered, yes. Let's not talk about rape. Let's just talk about a thing that a God might have.
Okay, I apologize.
Like not kneeling to Mecca on Sunday or whatever. Let's just pick a thing like, oh, a God said this is wrong. For Christians, it would be, or for Jews, it would be not mowing my lawn Saturday morning. That would be a sin. Let's stick to those things, because when you think about it, it's the same justification. You're arguing it's wrong because a God said so, so it really doesn't matter what the thing is. We can just go, oh, God said don't do some silly nonsense, whatever. We don't have to say things that people have been hurt by.
Oh my God.
Yes, I think there's a domain. This is a very important now thing that we are dwelling into, and I think Edith Original would also like this discussion of morality and God and all these kind of things. What if God says that do not kill, and consensus says that do not kill? So religion.
How did the consensus come to be? God.
How did all of the people?
No, I was because you.
All people believe there is a God.
You asked what if you asked the question that what if there is inherent morality inside us, then what is the need of religion? And I was suggesting that sometimes
No, I don't ask if there is inherent morality, because there was a time where people were perfectly fine killing each other. We had in the past a time where people thought it's fine to kill other people for whatever reason. Now we're at a point where nearly the entire globe, obviously there are always
exceptions,
outliers, exceptions, but the vast majority of people have decided, no, it's wrong to kill people. That is a consensus that has built up, that has developed. How has that developed? It wasn't there before, right? And it's not, based on a particular religion, because different people have different religions. How did we get to this point? Without We are part of it.
I think people normally, generally speaking, people are good. So maybe the society may have developed into some good ideas. Nobody is denying that. What I was suggesting was that in terms of objective morality, if there is a situation where a social consensus is built upon something bad, and to such an extent where it causes harm to the society, will you rely upon the harm principle? Will an atheist rely upon the harm principle in this example, or will he lie to the social consensus in everything?
That's not the only two choices.
No.
First and foremost.
What else?
That's a false-
What else? Give me the third choice.
Well, first of all, you've yet to describe how that social consensus came to be. You absolutely seem to be hard pressed on refusing to acknowledge that consensuses come about due to cause and effect rather than some objective moral standard. They do not come about due to some objective moral standard. Otherwise, the Hindus and the Buddhists and the Christians and the Muslims would all have not agreed that we should not, come in conflict with each other, and they would all agree that we should or should not eat ice cream on Sundays, because that would be an objective moral standard. But there is no such thing as an objective moral standard, but we have all the same through our subjective moral standards come to the conclusion that certain things are okay and certain things are not, independent of religion.
Okay. Let me give you another example, just to 5 plus 5 equals 10, right? All of us agree, right? This is objective. No, I understood.
The problem with Filosofa is he asks a very specific question that he needs to understand your further points. So you have to define for him these kind of observations for him to allow him to get the further points. So we have to establish the question he has first.
Yeah. What are you actually talking about? How did this consensus you're talking about come to be? It doesn't form without a reason.
I think the answer is,
and the reason
the answer is self-evident. You keep backtracking, and I want to move ahead. How this consensus is achieved? The consensus is achieved via all majority of people raising their voices on a certain question or a certain thing. That's how.
Consensus is.
If they raise their voices, they already agree. How did they get to the point where they all agree? How did they get to the point where they raise their voices?
People do not, their opinions are not formed by a social consensus. I will not, in determining whether or not I'm okay with murder, I do not defer to what the social consensus of murder is. If I'm part of the social consensus, I need to have an opinion first, and then cast my vote if we're thinking of.
I don't think.
How do I, as someone in a society, come to the conclusion that murder is bad?
Okay, this is a good question, but I think there are two-part questions. First question is how, like Edith Original was saying, how do we know that all people have made their voices heard? Well, the answer is that you cannot, right? There can never be an ideal system where we can actually have all the voices of people on a certain thing. However, when the question we are talking about is the question of objective morality and social consensus.
There's no such thing.
There is no such thing. That doesn't exist.
So morality, you are just throwing the idea of morality in the dustbin then, right? If morality is subjective,
yes, because
if morality
that lies within Islam, and it is the average Shaivite's idea that all morality lies within Lord Shiva. Obviously, both are wrong because objective morality doesn't exist. It's all subjective.
If it's all subjective, then what if a killer says that killing is good? He says that subjectively it's good to me. Should we appreciate that? Or should we denounce that? So how do we denounce that? It gets to the question of that no, morality should be objective to such some.
That your God's opinion of what is or isn't moral is still subjective because it's his opinion. So even if he did exist, he would not dictate objective morality because it would be his opinion of morality, which is by definition subjective. There's no such thing as objective morality. The social consensus is based off of subjective choices and agreements over the course of time, and we are requesting from you to please explain how that social consensus would come to be in the first place, because we have already reached a global social consensus, generally speaking, that murder is wrong, and it did not come up through religion because so many people from different religions that actively conflict with each other agree on that. So, you still haven't adequately explained your reasoning behind thinking this in the first place.
What do you believe? What do you believe? Do you think that social consensus have been reached upon killing, or it hasn't been reached upon killing in today's world?
We have stated multiple times to you in so many words that the overwhelming majority of the entire global population does not believe that killing is good. It is the overwhelming social consensus already of the whole world that killing is bad and murder is bad. So how did we come to that? So you
believe so you believe that social consensus is a good thing in achieving morality, right? That's what you are trying to suggest.
That absolutely has nothing to do with what we have been suggesting or asking you. We're asking you, and you've still not responded yet, how does social consensus come to be? You're implying that social consensus just pops out of nowhere. It doesn't.
Well, just
Islamic. The problem is you say we think it's good or it's bad. No one of us has said anything about good or bad. We are trying to establish how do we get social consensus. Whether it's good or bad is absolutely irrelevant to the question of how it came to be. Does that make it more clear?
What do you have to say about questionnaires and the Likert scales? The questionnaires where you have and voting system where you have people's opinions voted on a certain issue or a certain person. I mean, wouldn't you call that social consensus?
We're not asking you what social consensus is. We're asking you how it comes to be. We all know that that's...
So hold on. So
I told you it's inherent. It's inherent in... It's in...
Okay, guys. Okay, keep breathing in, breathing out. Just a chill, chill. Anti-sleeper, you try to explain it because I think the two of you, Shai and Islamic response, you're talking a bit fast.
I think that's good.
You try to explain.
Okay, so I'm me. I'm going to walk into a voting booth. Today's the big vote on whether or not we decide if we as a society are pro-murder or not. I'm standing at the booth. I can check yes, murder is good, or no, murder is bad. What goes through my head before I fill out that ballot? Because, I know what goes through my head when I weigh, what I think is or isn't moral. But if I'm clearly not getting my opinion about this through social consensus, because, I'm determining, right?
It can be anything.
This is me casting my vote in the social consensus. So, okay. It can be anything?
Right. It can be your subjective opinion. It can be based upon social consensus. It can be based upon religion. It can be based on...
It cannot be based on social consensus. I'm casting my vote to be part of the social consensus.
So the social consensus has not yet happened, in a sense.
Right. So what you're saying, so the question that Philosophy, that's gonna, I have trouble with that name.
Everybody does, and we don't know why.
So he was asking, how do we get to a social consensus? And your answer, if I understood what you just said correctly, is it just happens. It could be anything. That is how we get to a social consensus. It just happens. It's arbitrary. Is that right?
I mean, nobody has the knowledge of what everybody's opinion is, right? So it has to be...
Right, but that's why in my hypothetical, I'm casting the vote right now. And I'm like, so what goes into my brain before I cast the vote on murder? and you're saying it is anything. Like, there is no basis for the social.
It's impossible to know. It's impossible to know. I mean, I do not read anybody's mind. You cannot read anybody's mind.
That's just fucking true. It's very possible to know.
Well, no, we cannot read people's minds, but we do have at least some idea of what goes on in the heads of other people.
That's exactly what we were discussing.
Propose this. I don't want to live in a society where we can murder one another. Even if I wanted to murder other people, I still wouldn't want to be in a society where we could murder one another freely, because I still wouldn't want to get murdered.
Why?
So there are things that go into people's determination of what they want to be like legal in a society beyond just the vote. It's just like self-interest or like I don't know, evolutionary predispositions to wanting your fellow humans to thrive or whatever. Like there are underpinnings to social consensus.
So that's exactly, yes.
To the fire just a little bit more there with the idea that when we go to vote, is murder wrong? What goes into that? Who knows? That's a real problem. Like, yeah, if I'm your average citizen, do I want to say, hey, the guy who murders my family member, maybe it's right, maybe it's wrong, this is a dice flipping situation, or maybe this is really, really obvious. And it's obvious what everybody would choose if murder went to the vote, which it never has, because obviously it wouldn't need to, because that's fundamentally fucking stupid. Maybe.
I mean, if we all...
And Islamic response, you posited a scenario wherein the social consensus is that murder is okay, but you won't explain any background on it. Why did murder suddenly become okay? You talked about the Nazis, about how, you know, the Holocaust just happened, but it didn't. It had several decades of lead up to it.
I was
Can I interject really quick? Because I've been listening for a while. Just really quick. If anybody thinks that Nazis thought murder was okay, you are fundamentally wrong.
Yeah.
I can show you that really simply.
Sure.
If any Nazi officer had murdered Eva Braun in 1940,
Right, exactly.
Adolf Hitler would not have said, well, gosh, I miss my girlfriend, but obviously because we're Nazis, we don't think murder's wrong, so kudos to you, good fellow. Enjoy your life. That wouldn't have happened.
No, exactly. No, we're 100% on the same train as you there. Obviously, people make other decisions than just relying on the social consensus, and the social consensus is built of innumerable independent decisions coming together and being similar to each other.
Well, maybe
Yes.
when we talk about the Nazis didn't think murder was wrong, maybe the correct answer is the Nazis defined murder very differently than we do right now.
You know, as a writer who values like word order and stuff, we really appreciate that take. Actually, yeah. No, we like that.
So
Because that's probably a better way to put at it. And so, in that case, how came to be the social consensus that made that decision? Once again, it was a several-decade process. It didn't just happen overnight one day. You know.
yes, but I think again we need to get to the root of the problem, that what is morality? Should morality, and what should it be based upon, right? Should it be based upon social consensus or harm principle or personal likings or God, right? So what should it be based upon? Morality, objective morality.
I got this one. This is super easy, barely an inconvenience. When it comes to morality, it should be based upon the kinds of things that I want to limit you from doing, but still allow myself to do. And it becomes sort of a social contract, if you will. Like, I probably want to stop you from getting your lawn get too long in the summer because I got to look at it across the street, but I wouldn't want to make it a crime because I wouldn't want to get punished for that. But when it comes to like you taking one of my children, I would want to make that a crime because I don't want to take one of yours, and I want to have something in place to stop you from taking one of mine. So morality ultimately is super easy, fairly inconvenient.
Social contract, but there is another side to this, which is now what if I make a social contract with somebody that he will be my slave and he agrees. Now, would you object to it? Or would you say it's a social contract, it should be respected, that's how morality works? Or would you say, no, it's against moral values, fundamental moral values?
I would say that's a fundamentally stupid question. But
No, it is not.
Find it a bit to make more sense.
It is not. You were saying social construct.
Somebody wants to be your slave. So let's just for the purposes of this thought experiment, let's say I want to be your slave, right?
Inky.
Right. Islamic response. I want to be your slave.
Okay.
Pitch slavery to me in a way that I'm going to accept it. Go ahead. I'm ready.
Complete ownership. Complete ownership. Let's just go with that.
I'm leaning towards being your slave because I'll be honest, you do sound like a pretty decent guy.
Likewise, and I think all of you people are very intelligent. I'm saying this from my first experience, right? Yeah.
I want to be your slave anyway. Go ahead and pitch the deal to me so I can accept it.
Complete ownership.
What is?
Like the atheists say, complete. You will never accept that.
I missed that.
Complete ownership, right? Complete ownership.
What? Complete ownership.
Yes.
In the absence of compensation, I would not like to have you have complete ownership, for sure. Do you have another option or something else you could pitch that would make
Right. See,
being a slave?
But I'm saying, what if somebody accepts that?
Offering the contract is not immoral. No one will accept your contract, though.
Yeah.
Which is why nothing bad happens.
Islamic response. I would be happy to completely own you, and trust me, I'm gonna feed you every day and let you see sunlight at least once a week. But these are the things you have to do for me. Jump in, man. It's slavery. Slavery's awesome. Let's do it. Let's do it.
But my question was, what if somebody accepts this, right? This social contract. So would you be against slavery or would you be pro-slavery?
And my question was, why would someone accept that contract? And if you're going to make an argument for why they would, please present the contract so that my lawyer can review it. Because I don't think you can. I think you can imagine this scenario where, like, oh, slavery is like this beautiful, flowery world, but you can't really justify it. Maybe you can, and we'll see.
It just feels like you don't accept the why of it all. Like, okay, sure, there's this slaver's social contract for slavery. How did that happen? Just like, how did the social consensus happen? How do you work it in your head that this scenario would happen at all? That somebody would want to be a slave. We think of Abraham Lincoln. Whenever I hear somebody advocating for slavery, I have a surprising desire to have it used on them and see what they think of it then. You know?
We yes, we were just talking about the best arguments for morality. That's what that's the point I was trying to suggest from the very beginning. You have turned this into that as if I was suggesting that social consensus is somehow eternally known to all of us. No, it's not that. I was suggesting what are the best routes towards morality. That was my question from the very beginning.
That's what we were asking you. You have presented social consensus every time you have mentioned it as though it simply appeared fully formed, unchanged.
Because that's the main argument of the atheist for morality, right? That's the best argument of atheist for morality is social consensus. But I was suggesting there can be situations where
let me
hang on. Just really quick, let me jump in. You asked the question like 2 sentences ago, Islamic response. But I forgot what it was. Do you remember what it was? If not, we'll skip it. You asked the question.
Yes, with philosophy, I was arguing about social consensus. With you, I was arguing about social contract, right? Which is, I think, a bigger.
Okay, that's too far back. Never mind. Let's keep it.
So I wanted to interject for just a moment. So you were, God, what was your? Now I've lost it. It was what was your phrasing? You were saying that
I was saying that the best
atheist is
argument,
going
yes,
to argue
yes,
for in favor
morality,
of morality.
yes,
Argument toward morality and social consensus.
exactly.
So let me, as the atheist, try to outline what my perspective of morality is, and I'd like your opinion on that.
Only
So
preface it that atheists are not a unified group, and that just because we don't believe in God doesn't mean that we agree with anybody else that doesn't believe in God.
sure.
Atheists
But let me give my take on it.
should have schools of thought like Hanafi, Maliki, Shafi'i, those kind of schools of thought as well.
So there's no unified atheist community. Atheists do not have a central model
I know
of
that.
morality.
I know that.
That's
I agree. I agree with that. I agree.
Example, I cannot stand this prick, and he sounds like he's an atheist. We hate each other. Fundamentally hate each other. It's a thing we do. Yeah.
No.
There's never going to be, and this is super hard because it's going to be really difficult for atheists to conform, to make like a cohesive voting bloc. Because we don't disagree, and it's like, oh, that little thing you said. Where if you're a Muslim, you'd be like, oh boy, that guy said Muhammad, and he said peace be upon him. I'm in. Do it. Do this thing. We're all on the same page.
Yeah, but
Atheists are like,
atheists.
yeah, we're gonna splinter. We're gonna fall apart. Awful.
Well, we don't have a central definition of anything but our own title. Like, we don't have a take for morality based on the social consensus because the atheist community doesn't have anything. It's not a community.
But that's even meaningless then. I mean, it's like suggesting that you do not have any definition of happiness, or you don't have any consensus on a definition of happiness.
The definition of happiness. That's just
Last question. Do you need a definition of happiness in order to be happy?
Yes.
Kids do not have a definition of happiness, and yet they chill and jiggle and have fun. Still my phone.
More importantly, it's a complete straw man that you just threw out there. Just because we don't believe in a God doesn't mean we don't have a definition of happiness. It's
But
not based on your.
to Isaac original,
It has nothing to do with our lack of belief.
a killer who kills somebody and thinks
Not a
that
killer, a kid, a child.
yes, but that's personal
A child
that's personal
knows
feeling.
happiness
That's
without knowing the definition of happiness.
by definition of happiness we mean that a definition of happiness that fulfills the greatest happiness for greatest number of people, right? Utilitarianism model and the ethics model that I was suggesting. If it's based upon
No, utilitarianism is dumb for obviously stupid reasons.
no, if it's based upon personal feelings, then a killer may find happiness by killing somebody, right? So a definition of happiness is important.
That you can't know happiness without knowing the definition of happiness, and then ESET presented as a counter to that plenty of children do not know the definition of happiness and are still happy. What's your counter to that, if any? Do you have an answer to that?
Can be happy without knowing the definition of happiness.
Okay, you can go with yes on you can go with yes on that one.
It's all good.
You can go with yes on that one, but I was suggesting happiness, a definition of happiness based upon morality, right? Definition of happiness should be based upon morality.
Why is the definition of happiness based on morality? What are you talking about?
If it is not based upon,
Guys,
okay.
thank you. Now listen, the reason why half of us are shouting is because we can't hear the other half, okay? I can hardly hear Islamic response, I can hardly hear the giggler, I can hear philosophy, I have issues with hearing anti-sleeper. If you guys say something, just shout a bit and don't take it as being upset, but it's not that anyone shouted anyone for any bad reason, it's just that you're very hard to hear, okay?
It's Seth, can I jump in real quick, like with a total non sequitur? That's okay with
Yeah.
you? How old's baby Alpha or whatever logic? How's the kid doing? How old is she these days? If you don't mind sharing your
She is doing awesome. You know, the most, you know, how should I say this? The most best educated kid in the whole block, and I didn't educate her, so I have no idea how she did it.
Genetically, she's genetically.
No sense for morality.
genetically
no,
good.
seriously, the kid is doing fine. She's a smart cookie. She's happy. She's healthy. She's fine. She's doing good, and I'm really happy about that.
Are you guys like thinking about having more? Working on having more?
No.
Having
I
more?
had issues with getting her, and
Okay.
I kind of messed it up. I have health issues since I had her, and I was like, I can't have a second one, otherwise this will just go completely bad.
Right.
But one will have to do.
Hey, you know what? You, and that's more than some people got.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, I'm enjoying the hell out of her. Every single second I'm enjoying.
What about logic?
Well, and you get to spend all of your money, all of your energy on one kid, and really,
Yeah.
get that nest basket going. Yeah.
Me and my wife tried. We tried 3 times to have a girl, and we got 3 boys. So we're kind of screwed. But life is what it is.
But boys are kind of cute too, though.
Yeah, the middle one is. He's like a little blonde-haired surfer dude. But the other two.
Yeah, it's funny because we got a girl, and I kind of wanted a boy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's all. That always happens, right? For all parents.
It can.
I think my wife wanted a boy the first time, or a girl the first time, and when she found out it was a boy, she was kind of.
I think with a girl, with
Once we
a
had the third boy,
yes.
she was actually hesitant to have a 4th child because she thought, well, if we got 3 boys and a girl, it kind of throws off the whole family dynamic. So
Yes,
we
yes,
talked about that.
exactly. I think with a girl, a mother feels more secure socially, right? She has less social barriers as compared to when a boy grows up, right? So there is
What would
always
that be?
Because when you have a boy, you have one penis you have to worry about. When you have a girl, you have all penis.
Oh my no! Yeah. Oh.
no, because
Right.
because naturally
Oh,
women men
It's sexist. Hang on. It's sexist, but there's a little bit of truth to it. Like it's like.
yes, there is
A lot to that.
naturally men feel more comfortable talking to men, and naturally women feel comfortable talking to women. That's how it works. Like it's
You don't know how it works in your country, but men in our country don't talk to each other about their fucking feelings. They make fun of each other about their feelings.
that happens elsewhere as well.
But I'm jesting with.
No, that happens elsewhere.
It's just like really the first time you've interacted with a vet on her
Yes.
YouTube or Discord channel.
Yes,
That is amazing. Wow.
I take this as a compliment.
You were there the first time he was interacting. Yeah.
I can't tell you how like blessed is blessed the right word? Is maybe could I say that?
I think I should be on more often then. I should be on more often then if I'm making friends, right?
More fun, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, no, once in a while I hop in. If you see me online, just hop in too.
Yes, I will. I had a lot of fun as well talking to all of you.
I think not only have I seen Logic's response to her response to you, but I think he mentions you and plays it back in another video or two. And I watch a lot of his content.
Yes, with Logic, with Logic, I had discussions about slavery with Logic, right, and other things. I was trying to suggest that slavery is not. I mean, a lot of the history in a lot of our history, human history, right? Slavery was an inherent thing. Now, if you are to say all of the humans being were. I mean, what side will you take? Were all those humans immoral? And Logic didn't ever reply to me on this question. And I also asked him, George,
I think he just didn't see it because he has a lot to do. If he doesn't reply, don't take that as he doesn't want to reply. If he doesn't reply, take it as he can't see.
I know that. But I was saying that just to add more value to my question.
Slavery, given most historical context, was clearly wrong. Given some historical context, like 1950 was clearly wrong. Yeah, there's a shift in what's that word that everyone hates? I'm not gonna say it. So
Say it.
People's views. as an atheist, you sort of recognize that not only did you evolve, but morality,
Yes.
whatever morality is, evolved to some extent and got better and better and better. And if you,
I mean, of course,
have you
of course.
have you read Steven Pinker's book, Better Angels by Nature?
No, I haven't.
Can you read it?
I'll try to.
It is a 600-page slog, but he makes a very, very strong argument that as a human being living in 2021, we are overall, there's specific things, but overall, we are the luckiest human beings to have ever been human beings. Like life is suck ass.
Yes, I've heard that argument.
Period in history that has ever existed. Absolutely. We love Steven Pinker's work on the surprising decline in violence over the years. Oh my god, yes.
Yes.
Well, I mean, we don't. I disagree with that. But yeah, I mean,
Of course, the world, the treasures of this world, right?
atheists can't agree with each other. It's just a thing we have to accept and embrace it.
Yes.
To some extent.
I like atheists.
I hate you.
If
You
I
hate me. We both hate that. It's life, man. Deal with it.
I love atheists and agnosticists. I love them because I think they are the people who are keeping the religion alive. To be honest, atheists are the people who are keeping religion alive. No, he was laughing with me. He was laughing with me.
No, it's nice. But I had the same argument from a Catholic a while ago, and it's a very, very interesting way of putting it. It's like, imagine if we wouldn't have atheists, there would be no Islam anywhere.
And
so if we were just to shut our mouths from one day to another, there would be no Islam.
and we are keeping you alive. We are also keeping you alive, right?
What I like about the argument is we are keeping God belief alive. Because clearly he's not going to do it. It's up to us.
Yes.
Like, how do you not clearly see the answer? What is happening?
But we are also keeping atheism alive, right? So the theists are also keeping atheists alive. So that's why we are.
No.
Because if religion wasn't there, everybody would be an atheist, and all children are born atheists because they haven't made up the decision to worship any god yet.
No,
so atheism is just.
I don't know. I'm gonna lean toward Richard Dawkins again.
Yes.
As much as he's fallen out of favor with atheists, I really think that he said something in one of his books, and it was religious belief is something that evolved with humans, and it's like a weird, unnecessary offshoot of evolution.
Yes.
I would say if you're Richard Dawkins, you have to recognize that anything that evolved with humans was necessary. So I think evolutionary-wise, there was probably a really good reason that for humans to be humans, they all had to agree on the gods to worship together, because as a social species, that made things more survivable to the next generation.
But majority of the world does believe in God, right? Majority of the world does believe in God. Social consensus is that world believes in God.
Oh my god, no, okay, so we were getting to that. That's called the hungry gazelle phenomenon, by the way, in evolutionary psychology. The concept is in this position, think of yourself as an extremely basal creature, probably eating some grass on the Serengeti or whatever. If you hear something behind you crackle in the grass, you have two decisions that you can make in your mind. A, you can pretend it was nothing. If it's not a lion, then you'll be safe. But if it is a lion, it will probably eat you. B, you can choose to run. If it's not a lion, you'll still be okay. But if it is a lion, you're considerably more likely to survive. So evolution as a whole incentivizes all creatures that ever sat in a prey niche to believe that there is some angry, hungry lion behind them, judging their actions unseen by them, potentially about to jump out at any given time. It was very much useful at a time, but as Carl Sagan puts it, is now dangerous evolutionary baggage.
That was a tad aggressive. Can we maybe ask him to mirror that and see if he understood what you just said?
I think I understood. I think that...
Sure. Sorry if we are coming off really
No.
and forward.
It was...
We're talking on our phone.
Yes.
So
Oh, no,
we're
Yeah,
not.
and
It was fine. It was fine. I think that
Yeah, no.
I think that was
Half of the time, people can't hear each other.
I think that was passionate more than yelling, but it was good. I think the argument he was trying to suggest is that you should try to avoid religion into this question when evolution describes all these type of things. That's I think what philosophy was trying to insinuate.
Religion.
Nope.
Religion is an evolutionary factor. We are only religious
Okay.
because evolutionary psychology heavily incentivizes us to believe in an unseen, all-knowing, all-controlling potential danger.
Yes.
Because that will keep us alive in nature.
The theist counter this, and the theist counter this with a very good argument that where did evolution come from? What was the cause of evolution to start being? Because it gets into abiogenesis, but where did that come from? And when you get in,
If I can cut you off,
and when you get into this absurdity of infinite regress, it always turns back to God, right?
that sounds like whataboutism. It doesn't
Yeah.
seem like you're addressing what he said.
No, I'm-
It seems like you're asking a different question.
I said
Thank you.
the theists have a good response to that. That when you are saying that religion is an offshoot of evolution, okay, let's just accept it for time being. Okay, but
Religion say it, Kitsune?
no, let's just accept that.
Religion is a necessary trait via evolution
Oh.
because it incentivizes safer behavior.
In terms of evolution, that has to be accepted, right? In terms of describing evolution, religion is just a
It doesn't have to be accepted, but it's one of the leading hypotheses in evolutionary psychology.
right. It will suggest that religion is a theoretical framework, an ideology that helps people to survive, right? So, in terms of evolution, yes, in terms of evolution, this will be the line of argument. But the theist counter is that their argument for God is even bigger, right? The theological or the teleological argument, the argument from intelligent design, and this causality argument, which is the center of which is the center of theology, right? Where did evolution come from, right? So evolution came
It
from.
doesn't matter.
It does matter.
So we can pull from evolutionary psychology that is the way it would work.
No,
We've seen that.
it works with species.
I have a Christian friend that I argue with on a pretty regular basis, and whenever he gets stumped, he says, "Well, my God is bigger than yours," and I feel like that's kind of what you're saying. Like, my God has the answers.
No,
And yes, if that's true, you've stumped us. We just don't think that's the case. So what else do you have that can convince us?
no. When
Guys,
I
sorry for disrupting for a second,
Yes.
but I have to go. I just let you guys talk in the chat. Just feel free to stay as long as you want, okay?
okay. Good day.
Have
Good
a
day.
good time. Thanks
Good
for
day.
coming.
Thanks for inviting me. Thank you for inviting me. I had a really good time with you and all the others.
Welcome.
Okay, the giggler, you were saying something.
So if I invited you to like a Christian apologetic server, would you join? Because I'd love to see it.
I would join. I actually I have been asking a lot of atheists whenever I get into these comments section, and they comment me back, and I say that please come on some Zoom meeting or some Discord meeting, and they always reject. It's the first time actually that because I love discussions. I love
Then,
right.
oh yeah, no, I'm a lifelong non-believer. I was raised in a Catholic family, but I never attached to the belief, so I'm like lifelong non-believer. But I love engaging with people who are believers. So I'm on a couple of atheist servers, but I don't hang out in BC there because it's an echo chamber. I don't want to do that.
One of the
I spend most of my time on. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, I understand. One of the things I love about atheists is that atheists are, I think, the most dynamic people of the world, right? In terms of morality, they are the most dynamic, right? So they can,
Oh yeah,
they can be conservative.
I agree with that.
Yes, they are the most dynamic in terms of morality. So that's the thing I like about atheism, that they can be molded to good ideas. They are open to good ideas, just like we are.
Well, other than the word other than the word molded, I'm very flattered by it, because I would say atheists are people who will change their minds based on evidence.
Yes, yes.
So,
And even if you see the world politically, I mean, atheists have a very dynamic view of world. I mean, when we look at Muslims, right? So they are always Muslim Brotherhood. When we talk about Christians, then we look at the West. But atheists, I mean, there are people like David Icke, there are people like Richard Dawkins, there are people like Sam Harris. Some are anti-Muslim, some are pro-Muslim. Like Noam Chomsky, right? Professor Noam Chomsky, very pro-Muslim. So atheists are very dynamic people, and I love this thing about atheists.
what do you think? What do you think about atheists? Because I'm pretty sure that you have currently 2, 3 atheists.
Actually, one stage of my life, at one stage of my life, I was really considering atheism. To be honest, at one stage of my life, I was really considering it. However, the definition of happiness.
Let me play through what your thinking might have gone like. Like, hey, these people have told me that Allah, right? Allah is God has a time for me. But I'm not sure, because I haven't seen anything to make me think that. But boy, the stuff they're saying, it sounds pretty good. That sounds like some stuff I want to believe.
Yes.
I think I'm going to believe the stuff they said.
It sounded good. It sounded good, but
Interject. I need to go as well. So I'll talk to you guys later.
Okay, thank you, Anti-Sleeper. I loved talking with you as well. Yes, to the giggler, it sounded good. A lot of the arguments sounded good, but fundamentally they were very flawed. For example, one of the arguments atheists made a lot was, right, like every Muslim is born to a Muslim family. Every religious person is born to a religious family, and that was very compelling argument for me. When I superficially looked into it, this was a very compelling argument. But then you think of an argument: what if an atheist is born to an atheist? So it just falls apart.
Hang on, slow down. I don't think every Muslim was born to a Muslim family. I think they're recruiting people.
Yes.
I think that's the thing, and recruiting might be a.
But Richard Dawkins, Sam Harris uses this a lot, right?
Hang on. I don't think for one second Islam is growing only by making more children. I think they're convincing people of the stuff they believe. Yeah, for sure. I'm okay with that.
And Islamic response, if we could please, we want to establish to you the real difference between, because we are not a lifetime believer. We are not. We were incredibly spiritual for about half of our life. We went to all sorts of different courses. We became a spiritual leader. We became an ordained minister. We presided over numerous ceremonies. And during
speaking for himself, I had none of those experiences because all idiots hate each other. But yeah, go ahead.
So during that time, we were a very powerful believer. But at one point, we came to the realization that belief is the conviction. You believe something because you're convinced about it. And over the course of learning more and more and more about religion, we found it less and less convincing as time goes by. So we don't personally think that there's anything promising about being an atheist. It's just that we don't believe anything that any religious text that we have seen says, most commonly because we have seen in repeatable reality that many of the things that are said in many of these books, regardless of religion, are not true, or at least not convincing.
Philosophy, just so we don't overwhelm it. Could you and I sort of compare and contrast our route to becoming atheists and listen in to see how that happened for each person? Like, how did you get to your place of non-belief?
Okay, so
very
really
good.
Trying to condense it. We were raised traditional European pagan, and then from there we expanded out into like hyper-generic New Age pantheism. So, the belief that all religions are trying to go for the same thing and that all gods are, valid and stuff like that. And because we were so excited about believing in that. We were very spiritual, very religious in a sense. And because we were so excited about that, it inspired us to learn more and more and more about every religion we could get our hands on.
If I could short circuit you, you grew up all in on the theist mode.
All in, 120,000%. Yes.
And then TLDR, how did you get to where you are now?
We read enough books. We read enough religious books.
No.
Found out that what we thought
That's a lie.
about. Oh my God!
Well,
So we.
if he tells you what he thinks, sometimes he's a liar. That's just mean.
Well, and we weren't even done telling. So, a long story short, we ended to be a better minister. We ended up reading so many different books that we found out that the idea that we had that all religions were trying to go for the same thing was very much not true. That most religions are highly specialized toward the culture and region that they're built in, and so eventually led us to believe. To not believe.
I think
you know?
I think majority of the
Let me
okay.
hang on 1 second. You're gonna talk next. Just really quick. You were a believer because it's what you were, and I'm putting air quotes around this. Indoctrinated, like it was a family thing, like you were taught.
Yeah.
And then you were a
100%.
non-believer because you looked it. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So,
We're raised a very devout believer.
I'd love to hear your route to Islam. How did you get there?
To Islam? No, obviously I was born a Muslim, right? Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah. How did you get to your belief in Islam?
Obviously, I was born a Muslim. I was born a Muslim. However,
Hang on. Let's pause 1 second. I don't think that's obvious, and I don't think this other guy thinks it's obvious.
Yes.
Religion is a very flexible thing, at least in the U.S.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. tell us
okay, yes, it's not obvious. Okay, but most of the people indeed, their religion is from their parents. Let's be honest. Most of the people are like that.
Why do you think that's the case?
Because
do you think it's a good idea for most people to accept the religion of their parents? Like,
No.
My parents were Jews. Should I go?
And by the way, Islam is against that as well. Islam is against that as well. Quran speaks numerous times that don't support you, don't just follow your forefathers blindly, right? So multiple verses about this, right? So we don't believe in just accepting the religion of your parents.
I'm going to do my best to be quiet, and I want to hear why you became a Muslim.
Yes, I would give the argument that I am a Muslim not because my parents are Muslims. I would say that Islam has the best definition of happiness. Islam has the best ideology, right? Islam has everything to offer. The thing that atheists lack is these kind of things like objective morality, and how do they defend the concept of infinite regress, right? This problem of infinite regress. Why is there something rather than nothing? Muhammad Hijab, these kind of Muslims have, Sabur Ahmed, their discussions with atheists, they have always asked this question, and atheists always come up short on these questions. But Muslims defend this argument brilliantly, and even better than Christians, because Christians are left in that paradox of Trinity, that unsolvable paradox of Trinity, which even confuses you even more. So Islam has the best definition of that. There is one eternal entity, one necessary existence that caused this existence into being, which solves the problem of the absurdity of infinite regress, right?